Hi friends, we're going to make this card with our getting started supplies. I hope you like it. Let's get started. As always, I've got all the notes at bevadams.com. For today's project, we're going to need a half sheet of Moonlight Designer Series paper. And we're going to use half of this. So we're going to cut it down to 3 1/4. And from the Getting Started embellishments, we're going to use a small tag and a large tag and a clip and about 12 inches of the baker's twine. You're going to need a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Paper is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, so it's just half a sheet of 8 1/2 by 11, and it's scored at 4 1/4. We're going to be using Lost Lagoon and Hello Honey stamp pads, and you might also want those same colors of markers. We're going to make this into a birthday card, although you could really use it for any event, I think. And we need the flower and also the flower from the Itty Bitty Accents. Also a piece of Whisper White cardstock that we're going to use as a layer. This is a 1/2 inch smaller than the card base, so this is 5 by 3 3/4. I'm going to be using this piece of cardstock both as a border, and also I'm going to be using the center of it for flowers. So I'm going to just mask the edge of this right just a little bit bigger than 1/4 of an inch with just scrap paper or a sticky note. I'm going to start with Hello Honey and the marker and just color the center of the flower. By the way, I've got a wood mount stamp, and so I marked the edge of this, the bottom of the stamp, so that it is the same direction as the punch to make it easier for me when I go to punch out the flowers. It looks symmetrical, but it's not quite. I'm coloring just the center and maybe a little bit around the edge, and it doesn't look like much, but these will make pretty white flowers with yellow centers. Maybe 3 or so of those. 3 or so, maybe 5 fully inked flowers. Of course, you could use the stamp pad as well. And if you're using the markers, be sure to use the side of the markers so you don't mess up your edge, your point. And do that same thing with the Lost Lagoon. I wanted to be as close to the edge as I could because the punch only reaches just about 3/8 of an inch in, and so that flower is too far away from the edge. I want a number of flowers to cluster on my card, And so I may not use all of these flowers, but it's easier to have more than you need. And while I've got my stamp out and the ink, I also want to stamp the envelope. Still back to Hello Honey. That'll be pretty. One more thing out of the supply box that I needed was the sponges. I'm going to sponge the border with Hello Honey. The colored cardstock didn't make the cut from my basic supplies, so I'm kind of creating my own solid cardstock, but I'm sponging it, and it's fine. It'll be pretty in its own way. And it really doesn't have to be super even, but I don't want splotches and streaks. And it looks like a mess right now, but we're going to cover up all the mess, and so it'll look like that. Oh, so pretty. This is take 2 on my card, and I already stamped Happy Birthday on the label, and I didn't want to waste it. So I'm using these 2 labels from the Tag-A-Bag accessory set, and I'm going to use the dimensionals from that kit too, and I'm wanting to really save my supplies, so I'm only using half of a dimensional. When I'm using dimensionals from, that I buy separately, they're only a penny a piece, so I don't mind using a lot. But if I'm going to try and get these few dimensionals to last, I want to use every little bit. I think I'm ready to assemble my card. So I'm going to add snail to my messed up piece of cardstock and apply it to my card base. Always a good idea to check to make sure you're right side up. I don't know how many cards I've put all together and realized I had it upside down. And I'm going to just put one of those clips here, and I realized I also need to get my cord. Now the baker's twine that comes in the set is a little bit heavier than our regular baker's twine, a little bit thinner than our thick baker's twine, and I found out that when I untwist it, it's really 3 separate cords. I'm going to separate them into 2 pieces, one with 1 strand and one with 2 strands. So I'm going to the middle and just running my finger down there, and do the same thing with the other side, just letting it untwist and let it twist back up again. So this gives me 2 12-inch pieces for the price of 1. And the one with double I'm going to use on my card, on my tag. I'm folding it in half, putting the loop into the hole of the card, bringing my fingers up from the bottom through the loop, catching the ends and pulling it, and that's called a bird's eye knot. And then I'm going to just trim it, just put my tag on my card like that. And this is with the dimensionals. Okay, with the other thinner part, I'm going to kind of just put a swirly line and a circle, and I'm going to start my cord in that glue and kind of do loose circles, loose loops. And I want both of my ends to be in that center. This, I don't know who started this, but it's been very popular. I've been seeing it all over Pinterest, and I like it. Okay, with all the flowers that I punched earlier, I want to give them a little bit of dimension. And so I'm going to use a mat. I'm using my Stampin' mat, and you could use the back end of your piercing tool, but if you don't have that, you can use even the palm of your hand or a mouse pad and just a pointy tool of some sort, like a highlighter pen, and just kind of poke these. This card with the poked flowers and the clip make it too thick for mailing. This is one of those cards that you would want to hand to your friend. Now I want to be sure and put these over the glue. And so I'm starting with one of the kinds of flowers and separating them out a little bit. So I'll put some yellow ones in, and some of the blue ones with the blue centered ones. Want to be pretty. And that's it. I have my happy birthday, seize the cake, with the decorated envelope. And for more information, come on over to bevadams.com. Thank you for stopping by.